Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. So like the thumbnail says, this story has a prequel and an update. The prequel is from about a year and a half ago and it gives us a lot of context to the story. So let's get started with that. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user Bad Manners. Am I the a-hole for demanding my fiance stop teaching our kids bad manners? My fiancée, Lola, and I have been together for 5 years, engaged for a little over a year, and we have twins, boy and girl, 2.5. Our wedding is in 2 months. Lola usually takes care of feeding the kids in the morning since I work early, so I never noticed this until recently. I took a week's vacation from work to just spend time at home with my kids and Lola and started to notice something that bothered me. Lola has been teaching our kids bad table manners and sees nothing wrong with it. I hadn't noticed this before as they don't eat this type of food for lunch, dinner or snacks or eat it all the time. So I guess I just missed it as I wasn't home or she fed them other things on the weekends. This morning I was helping Lola make breakfast and then I got the kids ready while she brought their food out for them. As they were getting ready to eat, I noticed they didn't have forks or spoons, so I told Lola I would get them, and she said there was no need. I watched instead, and she gave the kids tortillas that she ripped into pieces, and they were using their bare hands to grab the food using the pieces of tortilla. I asked her what she was doing and that she should be giving them utensils, but she seemed shocked that I was concerned and said that's how they always eat it. I told her that she was teaching them bad manners and making them think it was okay to grab food with their hands. She told me they do that anyway when they have chips or grapes or tacos and pizza, and listed a bunch of other snacks and fast food you eat without utensils. But I pointed out that those things are usually made to be eaten quickly or on the road, like fast food, so utensils aren't needed. She said I was being offensive by calling her way of eating gross and saying it was having bad manners, but I do think it's gross to see someone grabbing at food with their bare hands like that. She said she grew up eating like that and would always use tortillas to eat things like eggs or meat and rice and beans. She said that it wasn't gross because she always made the kids wash their hands before they ate. I ended up giving my kids forks for them to eat, which they didn't want to use, which made me even more frustrated with her because now they're used to this. Lola has been really annoyed the rest of the day and wouldn't let me help her with lunch, and earlier she was walking around the house speaking to someone, probably her sister, in Spanish about me, and I'm starting to feel a bit annoyed. Am I the a-hole? Opie's edit. Wow, there are lots of quick replies. They seem to be mixed so far, but I will add that the kids can use utensils and use them with foods like soups, pasta, etc. I just fear that allowing them to continue using their hands will make them used to it. Alright, so we won't go into the judgment for this one, but we clearly know that OP was deemed the a-hole for being basically an idiot. So on this point, OP, all I'm gonna say is that if you ever do go to Italy, don't even think about cutting pasta with a knife, just as a heads up. And with all that context, let's move on to the main post of today's video. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user Throwaway Bad Manners 2. My male 32 fiance, female 32, suddenly doesn't want to marry me anymore because of a disagreement we had a year ago. What now? Hi everyone, I've been with my fiancée Lola for almost 7 years now, and we've been engaged for 2 of those years. We have twins together, male, female, 3, and I thought we were happy. About a year ago, we had a small fight or disagreement about how she was raising our kids, but after receiving some feedback from Reddit, I was able to see that I was in the wrong and I was being incredibly offensive towards my wife. This was on a different account that I lost the info for, but everyone was very helpful, so thanks again. I apologized and she seemed to accept my apology. I thought things were back to normal after all of that. She seemed to be her normal self again and we didn't argue or disagree about that topic anymore. In fact, we hadn't had even a minor disagreement for months after that. I thought we were happy. Well, we were originally planning to get married last year, October of 2022, but she ended up changing her mind and saying she wanted to push back the wedding a bit. I was a bit confused and she wouldn't really elaborate on why. She just said it was stressful to plan a wedding with toddlers and she needed some time, so I agreed. Well, she just dropped a bomb on me out of nowhere a few days ago when she randomly stated that she doesn't think she wants to get married anymore. This was heartbreaking to hear, of course, and I asked that we sit and talk it out. She ended up telling me that she doesn't think we're compatible after 7 years and that she thinks we should go our own ways and co-parent. I'm devastated. I pressed for more information like what made you realize this and why now? And she basically said that she felt like I didn't really know her and that I didn't want to know her. I thought this was ridiculous. I know everything about her. I know her favorite color, movie, and song. I know her favorite food, and I can read her body language extremely well. I do know her. We've been together for years. She said a few more things, and apparently she's been thinking over our relationship since that fight happened a year ago. She said it was eye-opening for her and that when I let her see the post and look through all the comments, she realized things about me that she had swept under the rug for years and blown off as one-time issues. She went on a whole spiel about all these things she had realized about me and how she didn't think we should be together anymore. I don't even know what that means. That she thinks you shouldn't be together anymore. It's right there, OP. I think I zoned out for most of her rant because I was so blindsided and hurt by this that I was trying not to break down in tears. I offered to go to couples counseling and individual counseling, but she said it was too late and that I should have done that or offered that a year ago when this all blew up. I don't even know what to do now, and I think it's a bit unfair for her to put all of that on me. Just because I didn't think of therapy after a minor disagreement a year ago, I'm no longer someone she wants to marry? That's insane. I don't know what to do. How can I get her to give me another chance to see that I still love her and we can make this work? What can I say to make her change her mind? I'm so lost and I don't know what to do. Well, OP, I kinda get the impression that there's just no way back at this point. The thing about the table manners that sparked this whole thing was not just about table manners, it was a whole thing about culture. Now, I've got no idea what kind of conversation you guys had after that post where you were deemed the a-hole. But I get the impression that you just said some sort of a superficial sorry and tried to move on from it and just life as it was. When to her, this topic was clearly way more important. And in this past year and a half since that fight, she has been thinking about your relationship. And I'm pretty sure in that year and a half, some other things must have happened that pushed her to make this decision now. The problem is, you don't know what those things are, and I think it could be for two reasons. One is she never raised any issues, and I think she should have to be fair to communication. And two, you weren't just paying that much attention to these things. I mean, even now, during this post, you couldn't tell us what they were. You just said, she said some things, and that then you zoned out because you were so blindsided or flabbergasted or something. You say you know her body language. There must have been some other indicators that she wasn't really all that happy. I know it seems incredibly unfair to you because it's a surprise for you, but this is something that she's been mulling over for a year and a half. And that's why I don't think there's anything you can say to make her change her mind. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What would you do if you were in his shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Cute Somewhere 2411 says, quote, I don't even know what she means. I think I zoned out for most of her rant. End quote. I seem to have identified the problem. The things you say you know about her are things you learn about someone on the first date. When she says you don't know her, she pretty clearly means that you don't understand her on a deep level and she feels like you don't care enough to bother. That seems to be reinforced by the fact that while she was giving you the exact information you'd need to solve this issue, you zoned out and focused entirely on how you felt. It also sounds like the argument a year ago was not nearly as inconsequential as you're making it to seem. You described what you said as incredibly offensive and when this all blew up. Sounds to me like that was a huge fracturing point in your marriage, and instead of addressing it, you swept it under the rug and are now shocked at resurfacing. You were happy because she dropped it, but you never did the work to repair the damage your words caused. On top of that, you're calling her insane because she's not accepting your desperate ditch attempt to keep her now that you realize you may actually face real consequences. Go to individual therapy, work on yourself. It's unlikely but possible that she may come around if she sees that you're willing to put in the effort to be a better man and partner regardless of whether or not it gets you what you want. Ultimately though, if she's done, she's done. The best thing you can do is be respectful through the divorce process and focus on being a good co-parent. You cannot force her to give you another chance. And Opie responds, I don't normally zone out, I just meant I was in shock at the time. It was a bit of a deal and I apologized and addressed the issue. I didn't just drop it, I learned from my mistake. I admitted my failures and I apologized and she seemed to accept my apology and it was never brought up again. I did work to repair the damage as I apologized and understood that I was being ignorant and racist and I did not want to be that person. I realized that I was erasing and judging part of my children's culture, and I did want them to be involved, and I wanted my wife to keep teaching them about her culture as well. I will be getting individual therapy, and I hope I can make it up to her. Bob Apathy says, she's done. Counseling a year ago would have failed. The fact you disrespected her culture and only admitted you were wrong after Reddit users pointed it out says a lot. That fight opened her eyes to the type of person you are and she doesn't like that person. Co-parent and fix yourself. Find Thyself 90 says, my husband taught me how to eat soup and all sorts of stuff with tortilla, which you make into a pocket. I do it too. Also, it's very normal to eat with your hands in many parts of the world. It seems like you aren't interested in her culture. Did she not eat tortillas around you the 5 years leading up to this? Or teach you how she eats them so you could try it? It's an odd hill to die on. And Opie responds, no, she did not eat this way around me. Someone asked this when I made my original post, but she avoided eating this way because of an insensitive comment I made about someone eating with their hands in a movie. Opie's edit. I feel that you all have given me a lot to think about and reflect on. Thank you. I will no longer be replying to comments. Okay, well, the community also thinks that there is not much coming back from this for Opie and he's just focused on co-parenting. And Opie tried to excuse his behavior there in a couple of comments, but they were basically all the same. In any case, it's time to move on to the update to see how this story ends. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, go ahead and give that like button a press, maybe a dislike if you don't like it, and of course don't forget to leave a comment, it really helps out. Finally, if you'd like to join us, this is the time to click that subscribe button. And now let's continue with the update. Hi everyone, this will likely be the last post I make about this situation as everything seems to be final now. This one was made with my ex's permission, and she will read over it beforehand as she thinks I am an unreliable narrator. First of all, we have broken up. She gave me back the ring even though I said she didn't have to and she could pawn it and keep the money. She didn't want to do that and gave it back to me. I think I will pawn it myself and give her the money since she has moved out of the house. She moved in with her brother and his partner, who was actually able to get her a job where he works, and she is apparently starting next week. We will split our time with the kids since she said she was able to get shifts that align with my schedule. I have a pretty flexible schedule, but I just prefer to work the same days and times every week. So we will trade off the kids when each of us is at work and we are going to split the weekends. We are going to get a custody agreement, but we talked about it and agreed to 50-50 and we are both going to be cooperative as I don't want to stress her out and I do want to see my kids. I will also be brushing up on Mexican culture so that I can participate in things with my children, and I am looking to take some Spanish classes as well so I can communicate with them in both languages. I showed my wife the last post the day after I made it, and she read it over and read all my comments and a lot of the other comments, and she took 2 days to do this. Afterward, she said she wanted to talk and asked me if I was serious when I claimed that I thought she wanted to break up because of one fight about the food. I said yes because I was serious and did think that, and she said she couldn't believe me. I asked her to elaborate, and she got very mad and asked me if I was really so oblivious to my own actions. I realized that I probably have been oblivious to my own actions and that I've been selfish, and she kind of blew up and said something and asked me if I needed an effing list so I could see all the crap I've been doing. I told her I would appreciate it if she could communicate some of the issues, and there was no need for a list, but she said that a list would probably lessen the chances of me losing focus while she went on a rant. Ouch, but deserved. We ended up having a long talk about it, and she wanted me to include this in the post, so I will add it below. Note that these are just things that happened since the fight about the food. When one of her nieces had a quinceañera, I kept calling it a sweet 16. She said she explained to me multiple times that they were different, had different meanings, differed cultural significance, and had different practices. She said I still called it a sweet 16 and I would talk to people about it or mention it. She said I also embarrassed her at the party because she felt that I was making fun of how her relatives were dancing. I, to this day, sometimes call her Spanish instead of Hispanic, Latina, or Mexican. She said there's a big difference and me slipping up and forgetting is BS. When she was pregnant with the twins, I told her she could give them names that are pronounced in Spanish so that her non-English speaking family could say them easily, and also since they are half Mexican. We agreed that she could, so long as I could choose which names was final. She said that I had not held up my end of the deal, and that when we were at Christmas with her family in December, I obsessively corrected her family members when they pronounced our daughter's name Elena, and kept saying Elena, according to her. I did this more than 6 times that night, and she stopped keeping count. I didn't let her feed our kids some Mexican stew she had made because it looked spicy. I genuinely thought it was. She said she told me she hadn't used spicy peppers, but that night I fed them something else before the soup was done, and she said I disrespected her and her parenting skills. She feels like she is not allowed to listen to her music or any Spanish music because I will complain or change the song. She said she can only listen to her music when I'm not home. Otherwise, I will always change it within a few seconds. She said there were other smaller examples, but these are the bigger ones that she had already mentioned or brought up before and nothing had changed. When I asked her why she stayed with me for so long or why she didn't mention these things more, she said that she's always had low self-esteem and she thought that I was a good person or partner other than these things. So she always talked herself out of a breakup, but she was just over it now. The things she listed really opened my eyes and made me realize how selfish and unaware I've been, and I know that I need to change. I apologized to her and I know it won't change her mind, but that's okay. I just want her to know that I do regret my actions. I'm not going to ignore her or grey rock her like some people were suggesting, as I want to remain amicable with our children. I want us to have good communication, as I don't want our kids to grow up with parents who hate each other and can't have a simple conversation. Thank you to everyone who left comments, especially the ones who were harsh. Alright, well, before commenting on this final bit, I stand corrected. She did raise these issues and OP just didn't notice. So she was trying to communicate, but it just didn't get to the receiving part. On a positive note, OP, apparently this whole situation, even though you lost your future wife and 50% of the time with your kids, which is incredibly sad, has opened up your eyes a bit to how you were behaving, and hopefully you can improve on that. I mean, she did think you were a good person and partner, so I don't know, maybe there's still a chance, but don't keep your hopes up, just work on yourself. So on that note, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. Now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Kenkaneki Stan12. It doesn't pay to snoop, then accuse the boss. First, some background. I own a tanning salon, and it is open from 9 AM to 9 PM every day. There are usually 5 to 6 girls working part-time there, and the pay is $12 an hour plus cash commissions on the things they sell, packages and the lotions. It's worth noting that it's a small non-chained business in a college town. All the paychecks are kept in a drawer in individual envelopes with the employees' names and then taped shut. They pick up their envelope on payday, and it has worked well except for one instance. One employee decided to open everyone's envelopes to see their pay, and she was livid that one girl was getting paid $2 more an hour. Instead of just asking me about it, she decided to blast the employee group chat and accuse me of ripping them off, etc. Before you think the same thing, it's worth noting again that this is a college town with all college-age workers. For my particular salon, it has meant it's very hard to have someone who wants to close weekends consistently. They are all usually going home, have plans, want to study, etc. I try to be super accommodating and I work around everyone's schedule to the best of my ability. If someone says they cannot work, I do not ask questions, I just accept it and plan accordingly. So the reason this girl made a little extra was because she offered to close both days every weekend because she didn't mind. She didn't want as many weekly hours, so I offered to pay her a little extra because it was so difficult to schedule that. Plus, those 2 days can be a little slow, so commissions are usually not as good. I guess the girl who snooped never bothered to look at the schedule to see if there was maybe a reason that girl made a little more, even though she really didn't because she worked so few hours. Cue malicious compliance. I explained the situation to all of the girls. I told the snooper that since she was right, totally a ripoff, I would make sure to fix it. I started scheduling both the snooper and my weekend closer every weekend night for the next 3 weeks. I really only needed one person working, but I had done a terrible wrong that needed to be made right, at the extra cost of the snooper, of course. I would have done it longer, but she apologized and said she was totally fine going back to how it was because she wanted her weekends back, and the extra pay wasn't worth it. I guess we could have decided that together if she had just talked to me in the first place instead of jumping to conclusions. Wow, Opie, I gotta say, I think you were pretty soft in the way you handled this thing with the malicious compliance, cause, I don't know, I mean, opening other people's paycheck? That seems like a fireable offense to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this. In any case, Opie, you were able to solve it without a problem. Thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.